Hey, welcome back. We will begin with a simple guided meditation. Please sit comfortably with your eyes closed, hands placed in a comfortable way. As the sound of the meditation bell faded away, your attention comes toward where your attention is, mostly connected inwardly. And outward affairs discontinued. Not much interest shown toward the outside world. As seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, physical sensations, and thinking become less and less active in your experience, your mind finds something interesting to be with, something that is colorless, shapeless, something that is continuously happening, like you're breathing in and breathing out. It's an experience of mostly coming in and body's way of dealing with that. Let's try to be present with mindfully breathing in and mindfully breathing out. As you become comfortable in your breathing, you notice the airflow entering your nostrils, maybe filling your lungs, and then your body exhaling. There's this rhythm that you can tune into and stay with. And you become more and more comfortable with that experience. Mindfully you breathe in, mindfully you breathe out. The path taken by Buddhas, path taken by Arahants, enlightened monks, path taken by those who went into noble states in their minds, path being taken by those who are on the path toward awakening. The cultivation of mindfulness as a factor of awakening as well as a faculty and one aspect of the Eightfold Path. The seventh, we simply breathe in mindfully and breathe out mindfully, observing more and more details of your breath, putting behind any weight of the past or any anxiety toward the future. How wonderful it is to be here and now with this one simple thing called breathing in and breathing out. Then use a mantra like Buddho to breathe in and breathe out. Or just stay without any thinking or thoughts, with just bare awareness as you breathe in and breathe out. Whatever that makes you feel tranquil and calm. We may hear sounds, but we may not hear a person making sound or a person hearing sound. They are just sounds, noises. Quite withdrawn from sensual pleasures, seated mindfully, we live in a calm abiding that is peaceful here and now. Wisely reflecting on it, there is no experiencer who is experiencing it, it is happening. No concepts, conclusions about this. It is just a raw line of experiences continuously happening. The only activity, one single activity we do is mindfully breathing in, mindfully breathing out. When we say mindfully, we mean without bringing up unwholesome states, unwanted thinking, impure line of thinking that involves attachment, hatred, or delusion. Very open here and now, very much aware of what is happening here and now. calming the bodily sensation. You breathe in, calming the bodily sensations. You breathe out. Parts of the body disappears. Attention moves to your mind, to the joy and uplifting nature of the mind. We also abstain from unwise thinking, and it is a reminder for us to come back to the true nature of things as they arise. Contact feelings, liking, disliking, and that is craving being manifested. We know that things arising dependent on other things. To simplify them, mind gives rise to thoughts. Contact with thoughts bring up feelings. Feelings are pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. So what? We just know them, that we don't get carried away, judged by our own feelings. The true nature of even the neutral feelings is that there is no person behind making of those feelings, and that they vanish. So we see the cessation of them moment to moment, every moment, as new feelings arise, new thoughts, new contacts, new experiences also arise. With subtle, refined state of mind, you are able to see them like watching TV, inwardly aware of infinite number of consciousness or infinite space or nothingness that is infinite, or neither perception nor non-perception. Beyond any bodily experiences, the mind can touch those places and remain there for a long period of time. Mindfulness takes us there. It is happening, no one is doing it. So today, for the discussion part, I thought we can discuss extrovert qualities of the Buddha, something that can be very interesting to some people. You can go to long discourses of the Buddha, where we find the Kūṭadanta Sutta, where the Brahmin Kūṭadanta explains how he sees the Buddha. You have these 7 qualities listed, and I found it very interesting that we have those and we can discuss those. This is number 5 of long discourses. The Pali lines go as Samaṇo khalu gotamo, ehisāgatavādī, Sakhilo, Sammodako, Abbhākuṭiko, Uttānamukho, Pubbabhāsī, Yampi Samaṇo gotamo, ehisāgatavādī, Sakhilo, Sammodako, Abbhākuṭiko, Uttānamukho, Pubbabhāsī. And the first one is, he welcomes those who come to see him. Ehisāgatavādī. He does not send them away. He is popular, but he also is welcome. He is polite and soft-spoken. Sakhilo. And then number 3, Sammodako. He inquires about how one is faring. Like, how have you been? A long time no see. Well, good to meet you, and stuff like that. Just, are you in good health? How did that project go? If he knew the person, how did you meet your friend? Stuff like that. Abbhākuṭiko. He does not show facial gestures with the eyebrows. This is interesting. Some people can develop these facial gestures without knowing, like that, or instead of really saying anything, they just, oh, you, that. That can be judgmental to other people who are actually wanting to have a conversation, wanting your presence much more than that facial gesture. So he does not show facial gestures with the eyebrows and go away or avoid the person. Not only that, number 5, Uttānamukho. He talks openly and looks directly at your face when talking. It's not like he's talking to the wall or somebody else or to the tree, to the animal. He's talking directly at you. Pubbabhāsī, he is the first to start the conversation or greet. This is another quality, Pubbabhāsī, that he smiles first. So he doesn't wait the other person to talk. He says, oh, hi, nice to see you again, or good morning. So my grandma says good morning, even in the evening sometimes. She just likes to make fun like that. I like that of her. And Vihita Pubbaṅgama, he talks with a gentle smile in the face. These are nice qualities. Although I did not see that exactly that way in Kūṭadanta Sutta, that last one. But Pubbaṅgama is a word you find also in the first verse of Dhammapada. Mano Pubbaṅgama Dhamma. So that Pubbaṅgama means giving priority, full attention, like forerunner. So Vihita is, so you take your attention away from what you have been doing and then give priority to what is happening in front of you. Less distracted or no distraction at all. And with that, we can ask questions like, does this make someone an extrovert? Is this a parameter for someone who may identify them with, introvertness, that, when you develop these qualities, maybe some people have these qualities and they still are introverts. And there's no way knowing who is an introvert, who is an extrovert. And it may be depending on the circumstances of the person's experience. And I think we may also need to see that inside the mind of the Buddha, he does not have liking and disliking and favoritism. Of course, one time where a group of monks came from far away and they were noisy. And the Buddha said, who are those? They are noisy and I'm not interested in talking with them. He said that. He's showing that I prefer solitude and quietness. Another time, Ajatasattu, King Bimbisara went to see the Buddha, and he was actually Ajatasattu went to see the Buddha. He had killed his father, and he had fear that somebody else will kill him too. That karma was with him. And Jivaka, the physician of Ajatasattu, accompanied the king with all the ministers and said, now you leave all the weapons behind here, and beyond this point, you just go without any of those. And the king went little toward the forest to say nothing, and he was frightened. He thought the minister Jivaka had tricked him. So he asked, did you trick me? Are you going to kill me here? So his fear began speaking. And Jivaka said, no, let's continue going and you will see the Buddha and monks. They're not usually, they're never noisy, like you would expect. So, and the king had already gone to meet, this is Dhammacetya Sutta. King had already gone to meet other teachers with big groups, and often you can hear 500 people chatting before you enter the hall. It was not like that. So the king had right reasons to fear the experience and that he was anticipating. But upon seeing monks peacefully seated, so calm and serene, the king made a statement, what if my son, Udaybhadra, is also one of these monks? So that is quite remarkable to hear that from the king, that he saw monks were peaceful, quiet, and calm. And those people who get used to living silently and quietly prefer less and less talking and more silence. Like when we did the fourth pilgrimage, we had chunks of time that we were intentionally quiet, inwardly radiate in loving kindness, and only with permission we would break silence. And sometimes that is also an extrovert quality that you intentionally maybe choose silence. And in the story of the Metta Sutta of the commentary, you see that monks did not break silence to know what is happening until the most senior monk began asking the junior monk who was helping him to fetch water to know what was actually going on with him, asking, are you also seeing spirits, ghost sightings, and are you also experiencing what I am experiencing? Then only they broke silence. Until that point, even though they were fetching water, they were not breaking silence for that. So that is something too. And we see also the sutta before that, Dīgha Nikāya number 4, Soṇadanda Sutta. He also saw the Buddha as, this is how he saw the Buddha. Samaṇo khalu gotamo abhirupo dassaniyo pāsādiko paramāya vanna pokkarantaya Samaṇāgato Brahmā vanni Brahmā vachasi akhuddhavakaso dassanaya, and so on. So as he saw the Buddha, he was attractive, good looking, lovely, of surpassing beauty. He is magnificent and splendid as a Brahma, remarkable to behold. So remarkable to behold. And Samaṇo khalu gotamo silava arya sili kusala silena Samaṇāgato. He is ethical, possessing ethical conduct that is noble and skillful. Samaṇo khalu gotamo kalyana vacho, kalyana vakkarno, poriya vachaya Samaṇāgato, visaddhaya anela galaya, attassa viññāpaniya. So on. He is a good speaker with a polished, clear, and articulate voice that expresses the meaning. So that is just a piece from the Soṇadanda Sutta. And yeah, so interesting, right? Anything that you like to share, or anything that came to your mind as you look at this? Especially, I think, as we live with a group or maybe roommates, you can sense that if the roommate is bringing unwanted people without communicating, then you are going to have a problem, right? That you try to say, nowadays they have WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, where you discuss these things, Did I miss that you were saying that somebody was coming, could you please tell their name so we would expect them here, and so on. So I think there are social response, it's common sense. As they say that common sense is not so common nowadays. I think personality of a person also includes cleanliness, not throwing trash everywhere, and being willing to be humble, not defined by how much wealth you have, and it's defined maybe by how humble you are, and no matter how big of a person you are, you still, like the Buddha himself, when he visited his father, instead of waiting for the palace to prepare the meal, he went on alms round out in the street, and his father was not happy about that. You are just insulting me, the king said. And the Buddha's response was that, yeah, you belong to the royal family. I belong to the Buddha's family. And that is what we do. That he did not have a problem doing that. There was no special way of behaving when you are the Buddha. It's just the way that any other human being would behave. When it is the time for the meal, he would go begging and he would receive any meal. And that is the meal he would have, and he'll abstain from eating after that. So even to his father, he lived the same way until he was invited by the father to have the meal. From that next day onward, said, meal is prepared, and so there was no communication maybe up until that point about what time he should take his meal. They didn't know. Although the ministers who were sent by the father did not return, that they were ordained by the Buddha. And only khalu, this one minister, who also became ordained, and he started praising that the roads are now beautiful and it's time for you to visit Kapilavatthu. And there's a bunch of poems about that invitation. Angarino daniduma badante palesino chadanam vipahaya. So Angarino dani means flowers look like flames. Duma, trees look, fully bloomed. Perfect time for you to. He says at the end, Samayodani, isn't it the time for you to visit your father? So it's interesting to see that poetic expression of monks. But anyway, if the Buddha was an introvert who preferred to not talk, then we won't have much teachings out there at all. That there won't be a Pali canon, there won't be a language of Pali that we study and learn Buddha's teaching from. But I don't think we need to judge those people who prefer to remain introverts. That it is their choice, and when they feel comfortable, they will express. Some people go through also some episodes in their mind that they are not willing to talk necessarily. Maybe when they are over it, they will start talking. And some people also wait for the right person to talk to. Like when you go to an event, if you don't see anyone to connect with, then you don't talk. And also it's annoying when some other people who just prefer to talk, continuously talk, without stopping, so that quality of listening is also important, right? Instead of always willing, listening not with the intention of responding, but with the intention of actually understanding, comprehending. Comprehension is beyond, little bit beyond communication. Communication is easy, but comprehension is difficult. Comprehending the message and responding accordingly, I think is very important. And I think the Buddha did that. Like Dandapani came to the presence of the Buddha, and the way Dandapani asked the question, Dandapani means someone who had a stick in his hand. So he was a debater. He was willing to argue. And the Buddha ignored him. And only when Dandapani calmed down, the Buddha was willing to start a conversation. And now we have the teaching there. So you can see that the ability to penetrate through someone's mind and then helping when they are prepared to receive help, was also a quality that the Buddha had. And not everyone has that quality. So rare that someone knows what exactly the other person needs in terms of their pursuit of awakening. Anyway, anything you want to share?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm reading these, and one impulsive reaction I have is like, oh, these are to be emulated. These are good qualities. And then it struck me later that it's like the Buddha was very special and different. And I'm assuming that there were arahants who didn't have these qualities as well.
Yeah.
So, if like last week we were talking about Uttamam, like the highest. So it's like you can be maybe the highest in freedom and not have these qualities as well, potentially, maybe. Right?
Yeah, true.
Interesting. So,
like Pacceka Buddhas who prefer to remain secluded and not spread the teachings, but they are Buddhas, awakened. And Mahakassapa looked like the Buddha, and he chose to live in the forest in seclusion so that people will not be confused. Him for the Buddha will not take him. But that's a special quality of an arahant. And he did the Dhutanga practice, shedding of defilements, but living under trees, eating 1 meal a day, and wearing only rugged robes and those ones. So yeah, every arahant is a special arahant. They have their own qualities, and they have made their mind. No, I'm not going to be popular. I'm not going to be teaching. I don't have to do that. Their personal choice. Because popularity is, when you are popular, it's not something that you can take away from yourself. Like imagine you being a popular person and you go to a flea market, everybody starts taking selfies with you, and you just can't buy the thing that you went there. So it's just, also it comes with advantages and disadvantages. Yeah. Right. But also some people choosing silence over speaking can be a quality of, a gesture of anger, showing frustration over something. And that it can be easily associated with, without knowing properly, that, oh, this person is angry with me, when in fact they are angry with somebody else or themselves. But it's interesting that we never know, unless, sometimes you may never know when is an appropriate time to talk to someone. They'll say, leave me alone, there'll be a, oh, I'm so sorry. But living with maybe a partner somewhere, that their communication perhaps is at least minimal communication, or maybe some middle path in communication is better than having no communication at all. Because someone may be sick and you never know until 3 days later, oh, I didn't know you were sick. So, yeah. Anything else?
Do we have Zoom? Yes.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is interesting too. I heard there's a sutta, maybe like where someone mistakes Ananda for the Buddha as well.
Maybe. I don't remember that.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. But this, what you brought up with Mahakassapa being potentially mistaken for the Buddha, it's interesting. And
because this one lady offered a robe or a meal, thinking, oh, the Buddha came, and the actual Buddha came, and she went back to Mahakassapa and grabbed it from his bowl and brought it to the Buddha. So the Mahakassapa did not want that to happen.
This, to me, and this other thing I heard about Ananda, like someone, I don't know if it's right or not, but I remember a story where someone sees from far away, thinks it's the Buddha, but it's not, it's Ananda. Because they were cousins and looked similar, maybe. Is this true? That they were cousins?
Yes, they were cousins. And maybe people who didn't know exactly who the Buddha was were confused. Like in Pubbabhāsī, I think that is Vihita Sutta. There that Pubbabhāsī had never seen the Buddha, and that it was impossible for him to know that it was the Buddha, actual Buddha that he had taken refuge for, and that he was chatting with or sharing the same shelter with, until after the teaching was given. Oh, this is that. And he was like, I'm so sorry, I did not know you were the Buddha.
Right.
So it's not a thing that you see externally. It's a mind that is awakened.
And the reason I bring all those up is because this suggests maybe the outward appearance of the Buddha, at least as according to some text, is that he maybe had a shaved head.
I don't know. Maybe the face also looked similar.
If he had, well, so do the texts talk about his hair with the coils and?
Oh, the text. I think the Lakkhana Sutta has 32 characteristics of the Buddha, but I'm not sure if it talks about curly hair. But it does talk about long ears. But cousins can have that,
right,
for sure.
Yeah, so many depictions of the Buddha with hair, and if someone could mistake Kassapa for the Buddha, then to me it's like you would.
It could be hair, but also we know that it took the Buddha about 20 years before he established rules. So that monks did not have any rule at the time that they should shave their hair or anything. It was just that most people who became monks were living ascetic lives, and that was normal to have long hair. And that some of them lost their hair over the process of aging, and it did not matter that. That I think establishing a community of monks was important, and that they followed the same rules also was important to the Buddha. So rules came. But until then, there was support for monks, and there was no need for them to look different. That all the recluses received food from people. That's the main thing. That none of people were generous those days. So, but I'm just not sure how. But the Buddha definitely is depicted in Sri Lankan murals and sculptor, artist with hair, with a knot and curly hair, and then Purna Roma, that is the forehead hair that is downward, curly and downward.
Hair, right?
Yeah, a hair there. You can look for it. But they put a jewel now that looks like, I think in this Buddha you may see one. It's one of the 32. And that in this Kūṭadanta Sutta you find that he has they say he has 32 features. That was a big deal at the time. The society knew that someone with those features will be born. They were expecting a special person like that.
Oh, like the seer when he was a baby.
Yeah.
Interesting. Vihita, what does that mean?
Vihita, like turned away from any distractions.
Why is the translation, he talks with a gentle smile?
That is, he's present, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Pubbaṅgama is also that quality. Because Hasita is more smiling, cheered up. Asana is the quality of smiling.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's share some merits. May the suffering ones be suffering free and fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.